You are listening to a Harbinger Studios podcast.
Hello and welcome back to Creator Conversations. This is a podcast where I interview streamers and other creators about what they do, why they do it, and much more. If any of you don't know me, I am T-Rex or Troy, and I stream at twitch.tv/T-Rex. That's TWRECKX_. For this episode, we have your new favorite streamer, jimb0. If you don't know jimb0, you need to. He is one of my favorite streamers and is one of the best on the platform. He has effects that you won't find anywhere else and is incredibly kind and friendly. The way he talks and interacts with chat is so fun. His stream is the most welcoming community on the internet, and jimb0 is so relatable you'll feel like you've been his friend for years after being in his stream for 5 minutes. I urge you to find his stream and support him on his journey. You can find him on Twitch at jimb0. This podcast is bi-weekly, and I will try to keep up with that schedule to the best of my ability. If you have any recommendations for creators you would like to see on the podcast, tweet us at CreatorConvoPod on Twitter. If you enjoy the podcast, we ask you to tell one friend who you think would find some enjoyment or interest in this. If you tweet at us, we'll mention you on the show. Once again, that is CreatorConvoPod on Twitter. Thank you all for listening, and let's get into this interview with jimb0. Welcome to Creator Conversations. This week we have a wonderful streamer, jimb0. How are you, man?
Howdy, I'm doing all right. How are you?
I'm great. How about you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Well, I guess I stream on Twitch. I play video games, a different variety of them. I like horror games and Stardew Valley and that kind of stuff. Along with, I just started Dark Souls. I'm on Dark Souls 3 right now in the DLC, and I like barbecue and puns and just kind of having a good time.
You live in Texas, right? So you love the
Yes.
barbecue.
Yeah, I do.
That's awesome. What's the origin of your name?
So that's a good question because I've had this for a long time. I used to play Counter-Strike, and I played semi-competitively, and I had an actual name. My actual name was Silence or like Silencer, I don't remember. And I remember I wanted to go incognito one time because we had a server that we ran, and I I had just seen the movie Hackers, and I was like, "Okay, we have to have a cool hacker name, and it's gotta have, a number in it like the leet speak." And so I made jimb0, which, ironically is actually closer to my real name, which is James, so I could, like, mess with my friends and stuff, and I've had it ever since, and I guess I made a Twitch account way back in 2008, and it stuck around, so that's just kind of how it's always been.
That's awesome. Have you been streaming since 2008?
Oh, no, not at all, actually. I didn't even watch Twitch until about maybe a year and a half ago. I don't know if I had to create the account to watch, like, a Counter-Strike event or something, or because this was during Justin TV, when I created the account. I don't remember why I did it or if I got some special thing or if I was interested in it at the time, but I never really clicked with Twitch until about 2 years ago, I guess.
So what made you come to Twitch? Was it like a certain streamer or
Well, not specifically a streamer. It was actually the game PUBG. So I was at work and we actually just had a bunch of layoffs and everybody. I work in a little production studio doing video editing, and our whole team was kind of wiped out. And I was still there, and it was extremely lonely. And this new PUBG game came out. I was like, well, this is interesting. And I didn't have a PC at the time. I kind of let my PC lapse, and I've been playing consoles for a few years. And I was like, "Well, I wanna see what this game's all about." I hear so much about it, and I just started watching people, and I kinda got plugged into a couple communities there, and I realized that 'cause I was always, like, of the mindset, "Why would I watch somebody else play video games when I could just play video games
yeah.
myself?" But then I was in a position where I couldn't play video games. I didn't have the hardware, and I was at work, and I started watching these people and realized that it's really just like these chat rooms with this streamer that's kind of facilitating the conversation, and there's like real people to connect with, and it was really kind of important, I guess, in that time of my life, and it just kind of stuck with it.
That's awesome. Did you so what made you transition from watching people to wanting to stream yourself?
Well, so, as a I guess I've I do video stuff, and I have a big creative drive, and with my job kind of not fulfilling that anymore, I had done some video blogs back in the day when in college and stuff, and I was like, "Well, I could just use the stream as, like, a creative outlet, and if I could help other people the way that people have helped me, I think it would be like a win-win." And so I just decided to take the plunge and kinda use that as the basis for getting back into some creative work.
Yeah, yeah. So did you start as a PUBG streamer?
Not, particularly, but I definitely did play PUBG at the time because a lot of the friends that I made, they still played it, and I gave it a shot. Streaming shooters is not something that for one, I'm a different person when I play shooters, and two, it's a lot more difficult, I feel like, to engage with people, um, playing something like that, yeah.
I totally agree. So what is your what's your like history with video games as a whole?
Ooh. Um, well, so my dad he was a big nerd too, and so, like, when we were growing up, I'm a little bit older, and so, like, I grew up in the '80s, and so we had, Atari systems, and then we got the NES, and we had I guess with my dad, we had always just been around computers or the early type of computers, and we just always had been playing games. I remember there's a computer called the Atari ST. It was like this it 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 wasn't quite like a computer, couldn't do a whole lot of stuff, but there was a game called MIDI Maze that you could play and hook up with other computers using the MIDI port, which is a sound port on the
Mhm.
computer. And it was like this, it was basically like a rudimentary first person shooter where you go around this maze as this giant smiley face sphere, and you see other people and you shoot little balls at people. And it was so much fun. And I don't know, we just always grew up. I had a brother and we would always play Nintendo together, and it's just always been a part of my it's one of those hobbies that I've never not done it, I guess.
Yeah. That's awesome. Do you have a favorite video game?
Oh, man, that's so difficult. I'm very indecisive when it comes to one of the one game that I think I could potentially say is Okami, for the
Really?
yeah, for the PlayStation 2. It's always been up there for me. It's been very special. I love the art style, the music, the gameplay. I like the Zelda type games, action adventure type games were like
Mhm.
a big thing for me. And that was like I feel like the last of that genre that I played and loved. Now they've kind of transitioned to something like, Horizon Zero Dawn
Mhm.
and these open world type games that I think is kind of like my new type of favorite genre.
Yeah, yeah.
But man, yeah, I just have I just have like a list and I can never
Yeah.
put them in order, you know.
Yeah, I feel that. Have you played Breath of the Wild?
I have played Breath of the Wild, I think I have like 170 hours in it, but I've never beat it. I've
Oh
never
my gosh.
I've never beat Ganon because I never really wanted it to end. So I
Yeah.
remember getting to the castle and I'm just like, well, I guess I'll just take a break and I just never went back to it.
Just never went back.
Yeah.
I never went and fought Ganon until I got the hero's tunic or whatever.
Yeah. It's funny. I
Yeah.
don't know.
So you working as a video editor probably gave you some chops in the streaming world before you started streaming, yeah?
I mean, in some ways, yes. I feel streaming is interesting and a challenge because it's a different animal because you do things live, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah,
you can kind of plan ahead and have assets ready to go. It's been a lot. It's been very fulfilling trying to mix those two worlds together.
yeah. So you do a lot of like stream effects and stuff on your stream. How do you come up with those like ideas?
Um, actually, so I'm inspired by a lot of other people.
Mhm.
So I remember seeing one of the PUBG guys that I watched. His name was the only DZ. He had this explosion thing that blew him up, and I saw that and I was like, that's actually really neat. And I wanted to do something similar to that, and then so I came up. The first one that I ever did was this poof effect, this
Yeah,
little
yeah.
bomb, that pops up, and then the chair spins around, and that's like classic, I think, animation uh, principles when you see something happen and they're not there anymore. There's a
Mhm.
lot of influence from movies and TV shows and things like that. But I mean, if I see someone do something cool, it's like I immediately start thinking about how I could do something that's similar or in the same vein, put my own spin on it.
Yeah, yeah. So I have to ask, with the poof effect and your other effects, how do you do them? Because I know people type in chat, right? They use the exclamation mark and then whatever effect. But
Right.
I'm guessing you don't have Nightbot or any bot program to do it, right?
Well, actually, you can do it through. So I use Streamlabs chatbot, and there with OBS Studio, there's a WebSocket plugin that you can get that lets you basically remote control things, and then there's a Python script that you could put in the chatbot that actually does the hard work for you. So there's a little bit of technical work that you have to do in order to get it set up, but then and we're working on maybe being able to do it soon with the actual integrated channel points. But there's some more work that we have to do. Um, I'm working with some buddies of mine, Stealth and Noom, and there's a lot of untapped potential in Twitch,
Yeah,
right? Because
totally.
it hasn't been around too long, right?
Yeah.
And so it's been fun trying to figure out ways. And of course, a lot of this stuff, a lot of the Python script, someone had already done before, but
Mhm.
it's very simple, and there's a lot of improvements that could be made. But there's not a whole lot of people, I guess, that are working on this stuff.
Hmm.
So it's a lot of trial and error.
So it is controlled by chat then?
Yes, it is.
And is it just like is it a scene change triggered by a chat command?
Exactly, yeah, so there's
Okay.
actually and this is, like, rudimentary stuff when that I was working on when it first came out, and I think there's better ways to do it now, but essentially it's 3 different scenes, and then the scene transitions are covered by stingers that to
Mhm.
make it kinda look seamless. So there's a starting screen, and then it transitions to an intermediate scene that holds there for about 15 seconds, then it transfers back to a separate one. It technically could go back to the first one, but the way stingers worked, it was more difficult to go back to the original, so I
Yeah.
had to make a new one. There's another plugin. There's so many great plugins for OBS. There's one called a transition matrix, and you can set
Yeah.
up to, like, from one scene to one scene, you can have a completely different transition than from one scene to the same scene, but from somewhere else. It's really hard. It's difficult to kind of wrap because the interface is
Yeah.
kinda weird.
I use the transition matrix.
Okay, yeah, so
It's a
it's
great plugin.
yeah. So essentially, you could just have a home scene where everything goes back to, and I'm working on setting that up, but it's a lot of work with with a lot of different scenes going on.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of technical doodads and doohickeys behind the scenes of OBS that get complicated fast.
Oh yeah, for sure. Because I mean, a lot of because the plugins are all third party, right? So like anybody can make them, and you
Totally.
don't know where they're coming from,
Yeah.
and you don't know how they're affecting with stuff. So I get kind of nervous sometimes. I don't want my whole OBS to just
Yeah, yeah.
blow up.
Yeah. I was imagining that you would just see the chat message and then press a button on your macro board or whatever. So which brings me to another question. Like, do you use a macro board?
I have a Stream Deck,
Yeah.
for sure. I think it's one of those things that the hardware itself is not the most. I wish it was a little bit better, but like the software that comes with it that lets you do multi actions and all
Yeah,
this
yeah.
other stuff is just so invaluable.
Yeah, I agree. I wish I could use that software on like a mechanical
Exactly.
macro board. Yeah.
Yeah. The mushy switches is like my biggest my
Yeah,
biggest
yeah.
yeah, because I misclick things or like double click stuff a lot,
Yeah.
because there's not a mechanical switch in there, which would be
Yeah.
nice.
I have the same problem. So I feel like you're really good at talking and like keeping the ball rolling on stream while you're playing and while you're distracted, and I feel like that's a very invaluable skill to have as a streamer. Do you have any tips for other streamers uh to be good at keeping the ball rolling?
It's it's interesting because it's one of those things that I'm always, like, trying to be better at, but I never feel like I'm really that good,
Mhm.
because there's always gonna be, like, a lull in chat. Well, not always, but, I mean, there's often
Yeah.
lulls in chats and stuff that I feel like I'm doing something wrong. But I just think about, like, how I watch streams, and I'll watch people, and oftentimes I'm doing something else, or I have them in the background, and just hearing that person talk, like, is what kinda keeps me listening anyways. I may not be talking, but when I'm watching, Space Shark is a great example of this. Space Shark is always talking, and I
Yeah.
think she does a better job than I do of, like, keeping things going, and, at first, the as far as tips go, as when I was first starting to try to get better at this, I would always just, even if it's just simple enough, just explaining what you're doing in the video
Yeah.
game, or like what you are planning on doing, or like just always just talking through your process, like getting used to just speaking out loud, even if there's nobody in chat, is like step number one, because that's a very difficult skill. Because if I'm playing a video game, I'm on my own, I'm just zoning out completely,
Yeah.
right? And so, like, just getting into the habit of explaining, like, "Oh, I need to go here. I wanted to pick up this item, so let's go over there and do this." Just simple stuff. Like, and then you'll find out that maybe as you do that, something will come up that you wanna talk to. I mean, we talk about food a lot on my stream,
Mhm.
um, and I love talking about food, and I love talking about movies. We had a big movie discussion the other day, and it just comes up organically a lot of times. But if there isn't anything organic, like, you have to be the one that creates it, so you just have to talk.
Yeah. And I feel like keeping chat rolling is a whole new beast when you have no one in chat.
Mhm.
I feel like it's really hard for new streamers to start out by having conversations with themselves because there's no one in chat to talk to, and I feel like
Right.
that's one of the harder parts of starting on Twitch.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, I feel like there's a lot of preliminary work that I would recommend people doing before even starting, and I feel like that's
Mhm.
the big thing, is just to get plugged into a community, because if you make friends with folks, if you start hanging out with other people, and then you decide to start streaming, if you
Yeah.
those connections, those people will wanna come hang out and watch you,
Yeah.
and it'll make things a lot easier. Um
Absolutely.
I I had done that to a point, not to the point to where I feel like the communities that I'm in now are much more active and involved than the ones that I was in when I started, but it was enough of a start to have people there that know you already,
Yeah.
because it's very difficult just to start from nothing, and I feel like that personally, that kind of cuts out a lot of what I think Twitch is good at, and that's connecting people.
Yeah.
So,
Totally. So, this kind of rolls into another question of like, how do you approach your personality on stream? Are you yourself, like, like totally and unconditionally yourself, or do you have limitations, or like before you stream, do you have to like amp yourself up?
I mean, these are really good questions, because I feel like everyone's gonna be a little bit different. Some
Yeah,
people,
yeah,
you take someone that is really outgoing, like, they wanna crank it up to 11, right? They take their
yeah,
own personality, and they amplify it a little bit. I feel like there's certain things that I definitely wanna amplify, but there's some stuff that I try to hold back on a little bit. I don't like cursing on stream as
mm-hmm.
much, um, mainly because I curse enough, I guess, when I'm playing, and I don't want that to be. I wanna be more articulate, and sometimes if I allow cursing, I just fall into, like, I'll just have a string of just expletives, and it doesn't really sound interesting to me, or it's kind of lazy,
Yeah,
and so I try to hold some of that stuff back, so that I can be a little bit more creative when
yeah,
talking
yeah,
about stuff. Um but I mean, I just wanna try and be as genuine as possible, right? Like, we're just a bunch of friends hanging out, playing games on the couch together, and just our couch is really big.
yeah, yeah. So do you? Is there like any Is it hard sometimes when you have like a hard day? Is it hard to come on to stream and not push that negativity onto others?
Absolutely. I mean, there's definitely days where I don't even feel like, I just don't wanna stream,
Mhm.
just, like, I'm not in the headspace. Like, I'm a very introverted person, and it takes a lot of energy to go live and just talk to people for
Yeah.
5, 6 hours. Um, and sometimes I just don't want to do it. Um, and like to be to be fair, I guess to be honest, like this last I guess few months has been like a big learning process for me of like how much do I want to push myself to stream anyways, and how much do I really want to like take a break, and finding that balance
Yeah.
has been a struggle, but it's also been very enlightening, I guess.
Yeah, and you talked about how you mentioned that you stream for 5 to 6 hours. Um, is that like a set number, or do you just sit down and stream for however long you feel like?
I I try to have it as a set number. Like
Mhm.
my general schedule is about 3 p.m. to 9 p.m. my time, but sometimes we'll go late if I'm fighting a boss or something, and sometimes I'll get hungry and I want to end early. Um, it so it's kind of like a general thing, but I try to be as flexible as possible because I want to be able I want to be able to take those long streams sometimes, or cut it short if I need to. I think that's
Yeah.
important to not be so rigid with this stuff, but that's just I guess it's just for me.
Yeah. Do you ever get like 2 to 3 hours into your stream and you're just like not feeling it?
I don't sometimes but usually it's like I've gotten like a headache before, and like I wanted
Mhm.
to end, but like to be to be fair, most times I would say like streaming would improve my mood, and like
That's awesome.
um some there are times I guess like when I play when if I'm playing like a new game, and I could tell like just like people aren't into it. I'm just like,
Yeah.
this is a little bit of a struggle. It's a little bit of a slog, and then it's like I have to make a decision. Do I pivot? Do we play another game? Do I end early? Do we just stick it out?
Yeah. Yeah.
There, you have to make a decision at some point, I guess.
Yeah. Do you do anything else on Twitch, other than, like, game? Do you ever just sit and, like, talk about things in, like, a just chatting screen, or do you, like, any other creative outlets on stream?
Well, I've done a couple. We did a fast food ranking stream one time where we took all the fast food outlets and had a tier list and stuff. I like that stuff. I definitely want to do more.
Yeah.
I did an OBS tutorial thing one time as well, where I walked through some of the effects and stuff.
Mhm.
I'd like to do some of the stuff like that, but I'm not an expert with this stuff. It's like,
Yeah.
like I feel like because this OBS stuff, like a lot of it is very I feel like it's cobbled together as best as I know how, and I don't know if telling other people how I do it is actually helping them,
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
know? So, I always get worried with tutorial type stuff, but, I definitely like talking to people about things and sharing knowledge that I have, so I think
Yeah.
that would be fun.
I think I saw you do, like, an After Effects tutorial once, maybe?
Mhm, yeah, so, yeah, in that we walked through a little bit of After Effects and then a little bit of the OBS integration
Mm.
stuff, but, After Effects is a big I love that program so
Yeah, it's a
much.
great program. Do
Um,
you use it much on stream, like, in OBS?
no, I mean, well, I mean, I use it to create certain things, but, like,
Yeah.
I've never like, the only time that I streamed it was during that tutorial thing, so I don't it's hard for me to work again because I feel I feel like a lot of my process is, like, fumbling through things and, like,
Yeah, yeah.
failing until I get it right,
No,
and I don't
totally.
know if that's like a process that I want people to be able to see,
Yeah.
you know?
I don't know. I feel like that is how you learn. Like you have to do things wrong 4 times before you do it right once.
Yeah. No, I think I agree with that too.
Yeah. So on stream, I've heard some different opinions about this topic, and I just want to get your take. Do you read chat messages out loud, or do you just read them in your mind and then respond to them on stream?
Ooh, I'm curious what other people say because
Yeah.
I kind of I will sometimes and I won't other
Mhm.
times, and I don't really have a set mindset when it comes to it. I don't because a lot of again, if you think about what the viewer is actually listening to, if they're just listening and they can't see you, saying things out loud would help them
Yeah.
understand what's going on. But that's also a lot of time that
Yeah.
to 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 be able to regurgitate that and then respond. And sometimes I just want to be able to respond directly.
Yeah, yeah.
So I don't
I
know. I guess
had
yeah.
I had Knackers on here uh for the last episode, and he was of the opinion that like if you have one idea and then it's interjected by a chat message, it's really jarring of like the tone switch. Like
Hmm.
if you just hit like a crazy shot in PUBG or something, and then you immediately switch to like a monotone reading of a chat message. It's
Yeah.
it's it's jarring.
And I guess a lot of times, like, we'll have maybe a couple different conversations going at once. And so, like, reading messages out that kind of
Mhm.
swap back and forth between a couple different things. I mean, and some people are just coming in for the first time,
Yeah.
and like, I don't know. I feel like it's difficult for me. But if someone wants says like a longer message, like sometimes I'll want to read that out loud.
Yeah, totally.
I don't know. It really just depends.
Or if like chat is moving fast and there's a lot of moving parts.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you feel about Streamlabs OBS?
Okay. Um. I okay. There's I have a lot of thoughts about this.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I think so it started out as like this kind of really user-friendly type thing, right? Like
Mhm.
if you don't have because it has built-in overlays and stuff like this, right? Like
Yeah, yeah.
um and it seemed really helpful for newer people that maybe don't have the time or energy or know how to do some of this other stuff. I don't like it as a whole based on the fact that it doesn't allow third-party plugins like
Yeah.
OBS does, and I get it because it's a business decision because they have this app store now where you can get the functionality that you want to, but you have to pay for it.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, I'm worried because I feel like Streamlab we've been talking about this with the people we've been working on some alert stuff with, is that Streamlabs chatbot hasn't been updated in, I don't know, 6 months or something like that. I feel like you're gonna have to there's gonna be a subscription service that you're gonna have to pay for. I think Streamlabs
Mm.
is monetizing a lot of stuff. And, not to
Yeah.
say that's not bad, because I think they do have some quality stuff. I think it's they're just moving towards a different model, and it's not one I don't know. I like that OBS is open,
Yeah.
and I like that it feels more it feels friendlier to me as a creator.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah.
What does Streamlabs chatbot offer that other chatbots don't?
Mainly is the script support. That's the really only reason there's another program, I think there's another bot, I think it's Deepbot that allows you to have, the script support to do the chat stuff, but I think you had at one point when I looked at it, you did have to pay for it, a monthly
Mm.
service, which again is not paying for this stuff is not bad. Um, I don't want because I think we also talk about because I think these are valuable, um assets that people are giving, but it just this was a free version, and I felt like I don't know, I liked the bot, and I think it has some good integration. I think the UI is kind of interesting. I think there's a lot of I don't know, there's a lot of mistriggers and other stuff that happens with Streamlabs that I think can be annoying, but
I see.
we don't have a lot of options, I guess, else. I mean,
Totally.
I think I started with, can't remember which bot I had, but it was a pain, and I had to update it manually every time, and I had to go into a command line and do all this it was just
My gosh.
yeah, it was, I can't remember the name of it. It was so long ago too, so
So do you code at all?
I do not, but my buddy Stealth does, and
Mm.
so, we work together to try and create some stuff that we if we have to.
Cool.
Um, it's one of the things that I wish I knew how to do, at least
Yeah.
just at a base level, because I was not expecting streaming to have so much coding involved, right? Like,
Totally.
but there's a ton that you could do,
Yeah.
with JavaScript, CSS, HTML, like any of those 3. You can use to make alerts. Python if you want to make these chatbot scripts and stuff like that. And it's just I don't know, man. The time to learn that stuff.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
oh,
Yeah. You already got streaming to learn, you know?
right, exactly. That's enough. You know.
Yeah. Um, how do you feel about, like, other social media platforms in tandem with streaming? Like, mostly Twitter.
Right. So I am learning that Twitter is extremely beneficial. I feel like that's where most of stream outside stream interactions happen.
Mhm.
Um, I've seen I don't know, it's hard to say like how directly integrated it is, but because I feel like there's a lot of people that are successful on Twitter but aren't able to carry that over into Twitch. And then I think there's people that actually do it because at the end of the day, like being a content creator requires you to create content. And if you're just creating content when you're live, you're missing out on a whole nother section. But
Yeah.
that also means that there's more time and energy that you have to spend in order to do that. And I feel like there's already enough time and energy just for streaming. So it's like, do you outsource it or do you go crazy and do it all yourself?
Yeah.
Um, like some stuff for me with video editing, I feel like I'm comfortable enough that I can do things relatively quickly. Um, but sometimes it takes me a while, or sometimes I just don't have the time that I want to spend to make it as good as I want.
Mhm.
So like trying to wrestle that and I guess balance everything is difficult because like you said, streaming is enough time as it is.
Yeah, yeah.
And I don't feel like I'm very good at social media, like, as an introvert, like,
I feel the
I'm
same.
I'm a lurker most of the time, I'll read stuff,
Yeah.
I'll like it, but talking to people,
Yeah, so as a video editor, do you ever make content, like video content?
I I've yes, not as much as I want to, like, I made this little Dark Souls compilation that was a lot of fun to me, but again, like, I get really self-conscious about this stuff, because it's like I make this content, like, is this something that people because I feel like when you make video content, you're competing with every cat video, every cute animal
Totally.
video, like, all this stuff. I was like, "This is not nobody's gonna wanna watch this over a Baby Yoda," like,
Yeah, yeah.
so I I immediately get very, uh, I just I cancel a lot of projects because of that,
Yeah.
but I need to just I know I watch other people's stuff too. I mean, there's some great moments when some stuff happens, on stream for people, and I love watching that stuff. So I just again, I have to just kind of remind myself that it's probably okay. Not as
It's probably okay, yeah.
yeah.
That's awesome. How do you feel about going live tweets?
Ooh, man, T-Rex, you've done this before, haven't you? You know what you're doing.
Once or twice. Thank you, though.
Uh, yeah. No, it's, because I feel like there's so much situational here, because I think it's I remember one time I went live on Twitch, and this is before I did Discord notifications and Twitter stuff, and I had people come to me and be like, "Hey, I didn't get your going live notification." I kinda depend on those, and some people so realizing that some people, like, use that to kind of gauge when someone goes live or I feel like there's no reason not to do them. I realize I don't really want a whole Twitter full of them. So I
Mhm.
I think there's some other practices. Some people delete them after they're
Mm,
done streaming.
interesting.
I think that's a decent idea that I've been considering. But then also I kind of like keeping that stuff too. I'm kind of a hoarder. And if I have like this, going live tweet that a bunch of people liked or commented maybe, or even has like a nice little GIF, it's just like, I don't
Yeah,
know if I wanna get rid of that. Um, I think it should be definitely absolutely supplemental to other content. Um, I just think
totally.
it's another way to get people to because I mean, retweets and stuff, like, you never know who's gonna check a retweet and
It's
just be
true.
like, "Just check it out." So I feel like there's no reason not to, but
Mhm.
it should definitely not be the soul of the content on that platform.
Yeah. Which is I feel like I struggle with that. Like,
Same. I mean, obviously,
yeah.
if I don't wanna look at my Twitter feed and just see it could be like
Yeah,
the
yeah.
last 3 tweets could be that.
Um, so I feel like there's so much content to be created and so many things to wrap your head around as a new streamer. How like what advice would you have to someone new with all of this information overload of streaming? Like where
Mm.
should they start to keep from being totally overwhelmed?
Ooh, um, that's I feel like well, I don't know. That's tough because I feel like it's
Yeah.
gonna be overwhelming no matter what.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, just kind of try to boil stuff down to make things simpler, right? Like,
Mhm.
you find what kind of I feel like it being whenever I start a creative project, I start with inspiration, right? Like, I'll go do
Mhm.
research, I'll find out things that people that have been successful in what I wanna do in the past, like, how do they do that? Like, what kind of style are they doing? What kind of, uh what kind of programs are they using? Like, what kind of, just a lot of mood board stuff, research, whatever. So, like, find streamers
Mhm.
that you like. What do you like about them? That they're welcoming, that they're really good at the game, like, that kinda stuff. And I
Yeah.
feel like you take that information and realize, like, well what can I do to either be like them or to be set apart from them,
Mhm.
And I feel like you just kinda build up from there. And, like, I was inspired, like, one of the big streamers, I don't watch a lot of big streamers 'cause I feel like it's hard to interact with them, but, like,
Totally.
Carnage was a big influence just because how pleasant he was, right? Like, here I am, he's very normal. I mean, not normal, he feels like a regular guy, and to me, that
Mhm.
was important. It was different than watching somebody that was really good at the video game, that was playing robotically,
Yeah.
Like, it's very impressive to watch, but, like, not something that I would want to hang out with. I was like, "This is somebody that I would like to hang out with," And so, like, that was important to me to kinda just try and just be genuine instead of trying to practice and be really good at a game. Um, and so, like, I feel like that is, like, the starting point, and then you start doing the other work, like, what kinda game do you wanna play?
Yeah.
Um, because I feel like a lot of people I think the biggest misconception about streaming is that all you have to do is play the game, right?
Mhm.
And so many people just they go live and they just play the game hoping that people come in. And I think there's a lot more to it, and it's like you can't just play the games that you want to play, unfortunately. I mean, you can, but
Yeah.
like I feel like there's a lot of strategy that you employ there if you can find a middle ground. Like for me, finding games like Hollow Knight that have a decent amount of viewership, but it's definitely in the same vein of the game that I like, but it's not super saturated. Like that's a good starting point, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to just jump in. Like obviously with I liked playing PUBG, but I knew that I wasn't going to be a PUBG streamer, nor did I really want to be.
Yeah.
Um, and then the last thing I think is just you just do it, right? You just go live and see what
Yeah.
works and practice.
So when before you play a game, do you look at what kind of people are watching? Not what kind, but like how many and like what other streamers are there?
I do. I feel like that's very important, but I feel like it's not. Again, I feel like there's a balance, right? You have growth streams, like streams like that, where it's like, okay, there's this many people watching. If I were to play this, given my average numbers, I would be at this point in the directory, right? Like
Mhm.
that. I think that's valuable research, but you don't have to do that all the time. I think it's important to sometimes play games that you don't. It doesn't matter who else is playing them, or if like because maybe your community wants to see them anyways. Like and maybe you want to. I feel like maybe lean more heavily towards the growth type of game that you
Yeah.
see, but to keep the other ones so you don't lose, you don't go insane. Trying to just always be playing the right thing.
Yeah. And you also mentioned that this like idea of watching someone and getting inspired by them and taking ideas from them. And I feel like this is a very interesting topic and a lot to unpack here of like where does someone need to start being like original? Like
Mhm.
how important is originality in the streaming world?
I think it I think it is important, but I feel like it's also very difficult, and I feel
Yeah.
like especially if you don't know exactly, like, what type of creator you're gonna be,
Yeah.
it's really hard to just be like to jump in. So I feel like you have to start somewhere, right? And then
Yeah.
after you've done it a little bit, you're like, "Okay, well, I really feel like I could be good at at maybe teaching or maybe doing tutorial or maybe just chatting is like, or like
Mhm.
doing these like I've seen people do game shows, I feel
Yeah.
like game shows are more they're kind of on the original side, like not a
Yeah.
whole lot of people have been doing them, but I've seen them. I think D&D I think Critical Role was a
Oh,
big
totally. Yeah.
a big influence for D&D people, and I feel like that at the time was the amount of production they have was extremely original, and
Mhm.
the stories that they were able to tell, and I feel like but like it had to start somewhere, right? They had to start with just a love of D&D, and I
Yeah.
feel like I don't know, like if you're gonna do something new, you just gotta do it, and then you can kind of find your way,
Yeah.
but
And I think a lot of bands start as cover bands, you know?
Mhm.
I feel like this idea of originality is something that's important, but it's really scary to new people, you know? Like I feel like there's a lot of validity in just starting. Like I don't think you should be too afraid of not being original to do it, but you should also want to be original.
I totally agree with that because I and because you even just, like, finding little ways to kind of to stand out
Yeah.
is important,
Yeah.
and I think you won't I mean, you could find that, I guess, just kind of thinking about it and watching, but I feel like it's just much easier and much more organic if you just jump in first. But,
Totally.
yeah.
So where what was your like the beginning of your streaming like?
Um, it's funny because, like, I thought that I had, like, done enough mental preparation and, like, research and stuff. It's like, okay, I'd watched a few streams. I watched streams for about 6 months or so before I started streaming myself.
Mhm.
And so I was like, well, I see this, this person does this. I wanna do this differently. And that's the thing is, like, I guess I thought so much about how I was gonna be original not, like, completely original, but, like, how I was gonna do things the way I wanted to and set myself apart. And then, of course, I go live and, like, I realize that I don't know I don't know what the hell I'm doing at all, and I'm just, like, fumbling through, and
Mhm.
I'm way worse than even the people that I thought I could do better at, Because, again, I feel like I mean, streaming is a skill. It's not just something that I mean, some people are more naturally inclined to do it, I think, some people might have more natural charisma,
Yeah.
stuff that I feel like I can never, like, actually get better at or learn, um, but practicing it and learning it is is really the only way to get better.
Yeah, yeah. So how do you handle technical difficulties on stream?
Ooh. Um, before I would get really disheartened, and if it's something that's out of your control, like internet,
Yeah.
I I it's just be defeated, and sometimes I just have to give up, right?
Yeah.
Um, Other times, like, so I had a problem, I can't remember what it was, and I used it as like something in OBS broke, and I
Mhm.
just tried to use it as like, well, here, this is, and we just would fix it live and just kind of go through and
Interesting, yeah.
I've seen people one of their alert broke and their alerts and they had some really crazy alerts and they recreated them themselves and, like, did the whole I think just accept that they're gonna happen and use it
Mhm.
as another way to create content is because you're always and that's with everything, and some people are much better at it than others, and, like, if a troll comes in, some people can get really flustered,
Yeah.
and some people just ban me. I lean more on the side of, like, ban immediately kinda thing
Yeah,
if they're
yeah.
really toxic, but other people can use it as, like, as a comedic thing, and they can go toe to toe with them and call them out, and
Yeah,
there
totally.
there's a Twitter clip. Um, so I feel like technical difficulties can be the same way, is sometimes you can roll with it and accept it and, like I said, make your own, like, on the spot, or go through and kind of try to use it as a teaching process just to kind of if people are interested, 'cause I found that a lot of people are just interested because a lot of people are streamers themselves, and they
Yeah.
just wanna know, but
Yeah, that's super interesting. So, when you started streaming, I guess, as you were a watcher before you were a streamer, did you find it hard to go back and spend time in other people's streams? Like, is it hard to spend more time on Twitch off stream?
and at first, it was actually I wanted to spend more time, like, that was, like, I would spend all time all my free time was on Twitch. Um, Now it's harder because it's like I have other stuff that I want to work on or do, or,
Mhm.
like, even just having the downtime off stream is really important as well.
Totally.
But no, I found it a lot easier because I wanted to be because it's like, "Oh, now I'm streaming, I'm more I feel like I'm more connected," It's like now I wanna
Yeah.
hang out in everybody's stream and see how they do this and talk to these people and, make more friends, and it was just like it almost got to unhealthy levels, right? Where, like, I just wanna live on this platform.
Yeah.
Yeah, but now it's I try to limit that because otherwise I just won't get anything done.
Yeah. So does streaming and Twitch affect your personal life?
I I would say yes. Most of the time though, I feel like it's affected it positively, right? Like because I've made so many friends, like
Yeah.
we play video games together and that kind of thing. I think it can absolutely affect negatively if you're not careful.
Yeah.
I mean, and because I've seen so many people, the amount of generosity that I've seen from people, and like gift subs and donations and stuff. Like sometimes, like I'll see things, I just worry for that person. Like
Mhm.
I hope that they have everything because I think there's a big desire to want to be connected and if something's happening, like they want to participate. And I feel like it's very easy to get in trouble financially or emotionally, like with
Yeah.
some of the dedication that people put in.
Absolutely. Yeah. So on a different note, I guess, what kind of goals do you have as a streamer?
Ooh, with my job being being kind of as shallow as it is now, like I want to I do freelance video work as well, and so like ideally I would like to have a place where I could have streaming and freelance and like balance it out to where like that would is enough to kind of sustain.
Yeah.
Um, with streaming, I really just like growing the community is a big deal and like trying to reach more people and trying to create stuff. I think content that people that resonates with people. I feel like that's always kind of been a goal. Even when I was younger, like when I started went to film school, I wanted to make stuff that made people feel something.
Yeah.
And I feel like streaming's no different. Like it's just like making music or movies or something. It's just you want to connect with people through
Totally.
that. And so like that's the big thing. And of course, growing to be able to reach more people has always been the goal there. So,
Yeah. What's your approach to growth?
ooh, in what I guess in what way?
I guess this is kind of a complicated question. I don't know, like, are there any like are you really into growing? Like, are you looking out for growth at all corners of the internet? And if so, like, where do you go and what do you do to do that? Or are you just more like I'm gonna stream when I want to stream, and if I grow, I grow.
It, I would say it's a little bit of both.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot I feel like you can do everything perfectly if you want to, and it's just if it might not just reach the people that you want to, or it just might not resonate with people. There's a lot of stuff that you can't control. And the only thing you can focus on is just making what you feel is the best stuff that you can make, and then
Yeah.
just and so, like, I feel like there's definitely more that I could do, like, again, Twitter is gonna be a big focus for me, definitely in the upcoming year, and
Yeah.
and trying to create stuff outside of stream. YouTube, of course, a lot of people have YouTubes too, but I feel like that's a whole 'nother beast,
Yeah.
whole 'nother algorithm and growth strategy to do there, and I just don't wanna do that. But I don't know, it's definitely something that I try to, but I haven't, like, put all of my energy in, and I worry because I worry because, like, even if you do put all the energy, that I think there's a chance that, like, it just might not catch, you know?
Yeah, totally. Do you ever think of quitting?
I I have thought about it before. I don't like thinking about it because, ah, you know, I definitely feel like I've been more emotional about stuff since streaming, right? Like, sometimes the
Mhm.
highs are high, sometimes the lows are lower.
Yeah.
Um, I worry I sometimes think about what would I be better off without it, but, like, I also know I just I can't see myself without it at some in some capacity now, like, even if, like, I think
Mhm.
about cutting back sometimes or even, like, adding more. It's like because I used to stream 5 days a week, and now I stream 4 days a week. Sometimes, like, well, do I want to go back to 5 or do I wanna
Yeah.
go down to 3?
Yeah.
Like, there's always thought about changing things, but, like, quitting itself, definitely not something that I want to do or that I think about too much these
Yeah.
days, but
Good, good.
yeah.
Um, do you struggle to play video games offline?
Yes and no. I find myself more difficult to play story stuff off stream.
Mm,
Um, and just kind of I've been playing a lot of multiplayer games. It's easy for me to play games with friends
yeah,
because
yeah.
it feels natural, and I've been making time to do that lately. But like I've been sitting on God of War for like 2 years now, and I think I've done like the first 2 hours like 2 or 3 times, and then just like stopped.
It's so good.
I know, and it's definitely a game that I don't wanna stream. Like, this is, like, a game that I wanna sit on the couch and, like, have the
Yeah.
stereo cranked and, like, all the lights off. Like, I
Yeah,
wanna
yeah.
be in it, and it's been difficult for me to get in that mindset, especially it's really hard for me to, like, right after stream just to go in and just play another game
No,
because
totally, yeah.
I'm exhausted. I've just been playing a game for 6 hours, so it's like, I don't really wanna play another game for another 6 hours.
Yeah, totally.
Unless it's, like, with friends, I guess, but, like, yeah, so it's been a struggle, and I don't know what I'm gonna do. I don't know what I'm gonna do.
That's funny. Well, we're rounding down here, so
Okay.
I'm gonna ask you the final questions that I usually ask everyone. Um, what keeps you motivated to continue to stream?
Ooh. Um, definitely the people. Um, the there's a big component of the sense of community, the friends that I've made, like, there's a big drive there to make stuff for those folks, and I think that couples in with the creative drive, like, I just wanna make stuff myself, and I feel like this is a good platform to do it. Um, I feel like that for me is, like, enough.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah, that's
yep.
great. Who are some underrated streamers that you would encourage others to go check out?
Ooh, well, I am Space Shark comes
Of
to
course.
mind
Yeah.
at right off the bat. Um,
You were her answer, so.
oh, okay. That makes sense. I have, another buddy is, MFC, that's me. I feel like, Joe is, he's been playing through Dark Souls 2. I think he is absolutely underrated and a good friend and a very very entertaining guy. And those two I always think about. So I'm gonna stick with those guys.
That's awesome. If you could have like 3 pieces of advice to people looking to start streaming, what would they be?
Oh man, 3.
I mean, not necessarily 3. That's a
Oh.
rough number.
um, I don't know. I would honestly I would like to ask questions to the people because I want to know why other people want to start streaming.
Yeah.
Because I feel like a lot of people stream for the same reason I do. Like they just want to connect with people. But I worry that a lot of people I see, especially the people that are very whiny and complain a lot about on Twitter, is that they just think that they go live and then they either get really successful and they make money. A lot of people, they see the big guys like, oh man, I could just play video games all day and make these thousands of dollars. That would be great. And I'm sure it would be. But I don't know. I want people. It's the same people that come into chat to just drop the self-promotion links, right? They just want people. They don't want to
Yeah.
do the work.
Yeah.
And I feel like I don't know. So I want people to know that like,
Have fun first.
yeah, like do this because you want to, not because you want to get somewhere, I feel.
Yeah. That's a good answer.
Yeah. I don't know what else though. I don't know what else.
No, that's okay. And final question. This one's the most important. How many 5-year-olds do you think you could fight before they overpower you?
Oh man. I don't even know. Like I feel like just more than 2 is too many. Um like okay, let's go with 4, 1 for each limb, right?
Yeah.
But then the 5th one, I don't know where that one's going and I don't think I don't think I could handle it.
The average weight of a 5-year-old is about 40 pounds.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
That's actually substantial.
Yeah, they're not too small.
What have other people said? I don't want to
Um,
fight off any 5-year-olds.
it's usually right around like the 3 to 5
Yeah.
area, which
Okay.
I feel is reasonable.
Yeah, so we could split the difference and say 4. Then,
Yeah.
right in the middle.
Well, and then finally, where can people find you?
I am on twitch.tv/jimb0, JIMB0. And then Jimbo Alert on Twitter. Again with the 0 instead of an O.
Awesome. Thank you so much for doing this. You're a wonderful streamer. Everyone should go check you out. I appreciate you doing this.
Thank you so much for having me. This was a blast.